The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, Section 3, Chapter 8, Rajyog in Brief. The following is a summary of Rajyog freely translated from the Kurma Puran. The fire of Yog burns the cage of the sin that is around a man. Knowledge becomes purified and nirvana is directly obtained. From yoga comes knowledge. Knowledge again helps the yogi. He who combines in himself both yoga and knowledge, with him the Lord is pleased. Those that practice Mahayoga either once a day or twice a day or thrice a day or always know that to be God, yoga is divided into two parts. One is called Abhava and other Mahayoga, where oneself is meditated upon a zero and bereft of quality, that is called above, and that in which one sees the self as full of bliss and buried of all impurities, and one with God is called as Mahayoga. The yogi by each one realizes his self. The other yogas that we read and hear of do not deserve to be ranked with the excellent Mahayoga in which the yogi finds himself and the whole universe or as God. This is the highest of all yoga. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi are the steps in Raja Yoga, of which non-injury, truthfulness, non-covetousness, chastity, not receiving anything from another is called as yama. This purifies the mind and chitta, never producing pain by thoughts, words, or deeds in any living being, is what is called as ahimsa, non-injury. There is no virtual higher than non-injury. There is no happiness higher than what the man obtains by this attitude of non-offensiveness of to all creation. By truth, we attain fruits of work. Through truth, everything is attained. In truth, everything is established. Relating facts as these are. This is true. Not taking others' good by stealing or by forcing is called as astheya, non-covetousness. Chastity is in thought, word, and deed, always and in all condition, is called as brahmacharya. Not receiving any present from anybody, even when one is suffering terribly, it is called as aparigraha. The idea is when a man receives a gift from another, his heart becomes impure and he becomes low. He loses his independence, he becomes bound and attached. The following are helps to success in yoga are called as niyama or irregular habits or observance, tapas, austerity, swadhyaya, study, santosh, contentment, saucha, purity, Ishwar Pranidham, worshipping God. Fasting or in other ways controlling the body is called as physical tapas. Repeating the Vedas and other mantras by which the sattva material in the body is purified is called as swadhyay or study. There are three sort of repetitions of these mantras. One is called as verbal, another is semi-verbal, and third is mental. The verbal or audible is the lowest, and the inaudible is the highest of all. The repetition which is loud in the verbal, the next one is where only the lip movement but no sound is being heard. The inaudible repetition of the mantra accompanied with the thinking of its meaning is called the positive and is the highest. The sages have said that there are two sort of purification, external and internal. The purification of the body by water, earth, and other material is the external purification, as bathing, etc. Purification of mind by truth and by all other virtues is called as internal purification. Both are necessary. It is not sufficient that the man should be internally pure and externally dirty. When both are attainable, the internal purity is the better, but no one will be the yogi until he has both. Worship of God is by praise, by thoughts, by devotion. We have spoken about yam and niyam. The next is asana, that is posture. The only thing to understand about it is leaving the body free, holding the chest, shoulder, and head straight. Then comes pranayam. Pran means the vital force in one's own body. Ayama means controlling them. There are three sorts of pranayam, the very simple, the middle, and very high. Pranayam is divided into three parts: filling, restraining, and emptying. When you begin with 12 seconds, it is the lowest pranayam. When you begin with 24 seconds, it is the middle part of pranayam. And when that pranayam is best, which begins with 30 to 36 seconds. In the lowest kind of pranayam, there is perspiration. The medium kind, quivering of the body, and the highest pranayam, levitation of the body and influx of great bliss. There is a mantra called as Gayatri. It is a very holy verse of the Vedas. We meditate on glory of that being who has produced this universe. May he enlighten our mind. Om is joined to it at the beginning and the end. In one pranayam repeats three Gayatris. In all books, they speak of pranayam being divided into Rechak, Purak, and Kumbhak. Rechak is exhalation, Purak is inhalation, and Kumbhak is restraining. The Indriyas, the organ of the senses, are acting towards and coming in contact with external objects. Bringing them under the control of the will is what is called pratyahar, or gathering towards oneself. Fixing the mind on the lotus of the heart or on the center of the head is what is called as dharana. Limited to one spot, making the spot base a particular kind of mental waves rises. These are not swallowed up by other kind of waves, but by degrees become prominent, while all the others recede and finally disappear. Next, the multiplicity of these waves gives place to unity, and one wave only is left in the mind. This is dhyan, that is meditation. When no basis is necessary, when the whole of the mind has become one wave, one formedness, it is called samadhi. Bereft of all help from places and centers, only the meaning of the thought is present. If the mind can be fixed on the center for 12 seconds, it will be dharana. 12 such dharanas will be dhyan, and 12 such dhyan will be samadhi. Where there is fire, or in water, or on ground which is strewn with dry leaves, there where there are many ant hills, where there are wild animals, or danger, where four street meet, where there is too much noise, where there are many wicked persons, yoga must not be practiced. This applies more particularly to India. Do not practice when the body feels very lazy or ill, or when the mind is very miserable or sorrow. Do not practice when the body feels very lazy or ill, or when the mind is very miserable and sorrow. Go to the places which is well hidden, where people do not come to disturb you. Do not choose dirty places, rather choose beautiful sceneries, or a room in your own house which is beautiful. When you practice, first salute all the ancient yogis and your own guru and God, and then begin. Dhyan is spoken of, and a few examples are given of what to meditate upon. Sit straight and look at the tip of your nose. Later on, we shall come to know how that concentrates the mind, how by controlling the two optic nerve, one advances a long way towards the control of the arc of reaction, and so to the control of the will. There are a few specimens of meditation Imagine a lotus upon the top of the head, several inches up, with virtues as its center and knowledge as its stalk. The eight petals of the lotus are the eight powers of the yogi. Inside the stamens, the pistil, and renunciation. If the yogi refuses the external power, he will come to salvation. So, the eight petals of the lotus are the eight powers, but the internal stamina and the pistil are extreme renunciation. The renunciation of all these powers. Inside of that lotus, think of the golden one, the Almighty, the intangible, he whose name is Om, the inexpressible, surrounded with effulgent light. Meditate on that. Another meditation is given. Think of a space in your heart, and in the midst of the space, think that a flame is burning. Think of that flame or as your own soul, and inside the flame is another effulgent light, and that is the soul of your soul, God. Meditate upon that in the heart. Chastity, non injury, forgiving, even the greatest enemy, true, faithful in the Lord. These are all different vrittis. Be not afraid if you are not perfect in all this work, they will come. He who has given up all attachment, all fear, and all anger, he whose whole soul has gone in upon the Lord, he who has taken refuge in the Lord, whose heart has become purified with whatsoever desire, he comes to the Lord. He will grant that all to him. Therefore, worship him through knowledge, love, and renunciation. He who hates none, who is the friend of all, who is merciful, who has nothing of his own, who is free from egoism, who is even minded in pain and pleasure, even minded in pain and pleasure, who is forbearing, who is always satisfied, who works always in yoga, whose self has been controlled, whose will is firm, whose mind and intellect are given up upon me, such a one of my beloved bhakta, from whom comes no disturbance, who cannot be disturbed by and others, who is free from joy, anger, fear, anxiety. Such one is mine beloved. Who does not depend on anything, who is pure and active, who does not care whether good comes or evil comes, and never become miserable, who has given up all the efforts by himself for himself, who is the same in praise or in blame, with a silent, thoughtful mind, blessed with what little comes in his way, homeless, for the whole world is his home, and who is steady in his ideas. Such a one is my beloved Bhakta. Such alone becomes yogi. There was a great god called as Narada. Just as there was a sages among mankind, great yogis, so there are great yogis among the gods. Narada was a good yogi and very great. He traveled everywhere. One day he was passing through the forest and saw a man who had been meditating until the white ants had built a huge mound around his body, so long that he been sitting in that position. He was he said to Narada, He said to Narada, "Where are you going?" Narada replied, "I am going to heaven." Then ask God when he will be merciful to me. When shall I attain freedom? Further on, Narada saw another man. He was jumping about, singing, dancing, and said, "Oh Narada, where are you going?" His voice and his gesture were wild. Narada said, "I am going to heaven." Then asked, "When shall I be free?" Narada went on. In the course of time, he came again by the same road, and there was a man who had been meditating with the ant hill round him. He said, "O Narada, did you ask the God about me?" "Oh, yes." "What did he say?" "The Lord told me that you would attain freedom in 4 more births." Then the man began to weep and wail and said, "I have meditated until an ant hill has grown around me, and I have 4 more births yet." Narada went to the other man. "Did you ask my question?" "Oh, yes." "Do you see this tamarind tree? I have to tell you that as many leaves as there are on that tree, so many times you shall be born, and then you shall attain freedom." The man began to dance for joy and said, "I shall have freedom after such a short time." A voice came, "My child, you will have freedom this minute." That was the reward for his perseverance. He was ready to work through all those births. Nothing discouraged him. But the first man felt that 4 more births were too long. Only perseverance, like that man who was willing to wait ions, brings about highest result.